minute, give me a minute, give me a minute.
I'm walking, y'all, trying to save my feet and toes. I said I'm walking, y'all, trying to save my feet and toes. Cause if I stop walking, y'all, they cut me up until I'm just a nose. I'm walking, y'all, trying to save my feet and toes. Yeah, I said I'm walking, y'all, trying to stay ahead of the sugar cane. If I stop walking, y'all, the king gonna trip me up. Yeah, come walk with me, save your feet and toes. Yeah, I say come walk with me, save your feet and toes. Cause if I stop walking, y'all, they cut me up until I'm just a nose. Yes, come walk with me and save your toes and feet. Yeah, I said come walk with me, save your toes and feet. Cause when you walk with me, you can eat the food you want to eat. I'm walking, y'all, trying to save my feet and toes.
Great rod isn't, y'all. Great rod isn't.
Trying to save
Give
my
me a
feet and
minute. Give me a minute. I'm so busy running around. I did not
here until I'm just a nose.
get the cameras. Great rod isn't. Happy President's Day. What president kicked out the King of England, stole his money, gold, his land, his cotton, his sugar, and his descendants of the king's prisoners of war? The decent thing to do was just to free everybody. But they wanted the enslaved. They wanted to keep the descendants of the prisoner of war. In my case, I can trace it back. This is true. Through that port of Jamaica. Bam, boom, bam, boom. Every war the Moors and other African people fought, they became prisoners. Jamaica, bam. The islands, all the islands, the king took all the prisoners of war too. And then this penal code islands. But when they kicked out the king, they kept our ancestors. They kept them for them to be working for free. And that president that kicked out the king, they said, oh, well, down the line, we'll deal with the Negro or the black or the slave situation. Yo, it's gone almost in 300 years. When y'all gonna make them deal with this? Anywho, then we got the other president that people been talking about for a long time. He had the war to free the slave. He didn't have the war to free the slave. I studied this book. I studied Lincoln. I studied this book called Lincoln on Management. He wasn't breaking up the Union. He wasn't into the Hatfield and McCoy shit. He didn't understand how you can still keep a people enslaved to work for free. How you doing that? You know that's wrong. And then y'all want to split the country over it? So it was a war between the cousins, the Hatfields and McCoy of the South, who wanted to keep enslavement going, so they could sit on their ass and live good, And then there was the northern ones that said, oh no, we got all these immigrants coming over. We working them the same way. So, and then as Hatfields and McCoy does the feud that they call the Civil War. Oh, I wasn't even moving. I was like, I'm supposed to be doing something. Wasn't that? It's a holiday, y'all. When I remember this, I was like, oh, I posted for the walk already. I gotta do the walk. So, so that's what that was all about. That's what that was all about. But as soon as that was taken care of and our enslaved ancestors was free, the Hatfields and McCoys who were going to get out and was breaking up the United States, they said, hey, we're going to go in the government and we're going to do the same things to the slave people. They ain't free. And they're still doing it. The McCrackens, McCollin, McCooklan, and all the English names too. Then the Hatfields. The other one's pretty much Scot-Irish. And they went government. And then it came with a black coat law, but Lincoln was gone. But Lincoln on management was doing it for the Constitution to keep the Union as one. So the Hatfields and McCoy said, wait a minute, we're going to get in this government. So the first thing they did was, and you'll hear it on this tape, where they said, after the Civil War, we were in government because that's fair. And the McCrackens, and the Hatfields, they said, oh no, okay, we're going to put laws. And they still doing it. They still doing it. They still doing it. And they're still voting them in. Y'all watch, what's his name? McCarthy. Y'all watch him tear into Obama. You ain't getting no health care. Them McCrackens, and McCoggins, they would rather die than to see. They'd rather tear up this whole government than to see one descendant get free health care. Where it's not experimental. That's why I'm trying to tell y'all. This health care here, for us, is always experimental. We ain't never gonna get the top rack. We ain't gonna get the top shelf. In the medical field, we always gonna get the speed rack. Cheap alcohol, cheap medicine, experimental. Because McCracken, McCollins, and the Hatfields, they're in control. And for 60-some years, I remember when I was a child, I couldn't understand when my mother and them used to talk. Why they used to say, we ain't no animals. I'm curious, because we had a dog. So I couldn't understand. And then there was reports coming out, oh, you can't get black people's skin by touching black people. That's to help them separate, stop the white only, the black onlys. And I'm like, you can't, my color won't rub off on you. Of course it won't rub off on you. What kind of nonsense is this? Then you see another report. Using the Negro blood won't make you an animal. Now I'm a young girl, I'm in New York, they telling all this stuff. I'm like, and everybody listens to the news and all. My stepmother listened to podcasts before there was podcasts. They just go on talk shows. Anyway, I was like, what? So it's okay to use black people's blood for transfusions. I was like, what? Then, I think around my daughter's age, this book came out, said a bell curve or something, where it says, like, since we're so close to the animal, our brains don't work the same. I was like, what? You block us from having education, and then you tell us there's something with our brains? No, there's something wrong with you. We have access to, everybody know me, lived in the library. You give me access to knowledge, and a lot of us are like that. I said, what? Now this all the way until I'm in my 40s, they still try to prove whether I'm an animal or not. Not a mammal. An animal. Cattle. Cow, sheep, chicken, pigs, ducks. That's just cattle, you know what I'm saying? Bison. I said, that's impossible. And still with DNA. So that's why I don't mess around with this medicine here. I know what category I'm put in. Until you get rid of the Hatfields and McCoys, until you get rid of that electoral college, we always gonna be in the same situation. And the ancestors, I got a lot to do, but they said political party. They gave me a name, Diaspora Americans Progressive Political Party. Until we get a political party, or they get rid of them Hatfields and McCoys, and stop putting all those oppressive laws. Oh, only we can decide who is on the judge or who is in the city. Until that stuff is gone, which is never until we get our own political party. And then they'll be saying, oh, wait a minute. Y'all go back there and think, come out like that. Then I'll take the role as animal. Then you call me a dog, a female dog. Because then you'll be saying, without a strong political party, you'll be saying, check yourself out before you do that. Because there's a dog waiting to come and clamp down on your ears when you come out with them bullshit legislative stuff against us. Stop your redlining. Stop your threats at the polls. Let us go back to the life we used to have. You vote. You're going about your business. You're all Americans. But the Hatfields and McCoys, get rid of them. This is what the ancestors is doing to their energy. When the ancestors see a Hatfield or McCoy or Hatfield and McCoy energy, they gonna go up to it and they gonna stomp it. They gonna stomp that energy. They gonna stomp that energy. They gonna polarize it. They gonna get rid of it. They gonna make sure that energy never comes back. Now, like I said, the good part of it is a lot of them are sending their energy to other worlds. Whew, goodness for that. Anyway, the ancestors. Okay, now they're going. They gonna.
Most former slaves gladly told their stories. For some, it was the first time anyone wanted to know about their lives as slaves. The society around them had given them the impression that Being a former slave was something to be ashamed of.
Like we enslaved ourselves.
Not to be talked about. Today we need to hear their stories. For how can you know how far you have come if you don't know where you started? Langston Hughes speaks so eloquently in his poem Mother to Son
Okay.
about what the experience of the elders means.
Fair use of the poem. Fair use of the poem. I will talk through it.
Life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
That's the first.
It
No,
had tacks in it and splinters.
not the first poem.
Bones torn up and places with no carpet on the floor.
I gotta remember. Ain't it a holiday?
All the time I've been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners.
I remember.
Sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. Oh boy.
The only problem I have with Langston Hughes and
Don't you
all
sit
those other
down
ones
on
that
the
were staying at the YMCA on 135th Street and was doing their things, ain't nobody come out the closet.
Still going, honey. I'm still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Crystal stair.
When did you come to Baltimore?
You know what? You don't remember when Garfield died, do you? When he shot Garfield? No, I don't think you were born.
I don't think I was.
I come to Baltimore that year. I worked for a man by the name of Reed.
Can a cow tell you about Garfield being president? And that's the people who run the country. That's the people who was in the medicine. They can't tell human from beast. They don't keep messing around with them. For us, we're just experimental, so it don't matter. Human or beast, it don't matter. We're just a pharmaceutical company way to the end, honey. A surgeon's way to success. You gotta have enough surgeries underneath you. You don't care who it is.
And 2 years that I heard talk of him. I heard my husband talk when he was lost and heard these or some white folk. He seen him after that.
And then they put on a cable car, what they call cable car. Well, they run them for a little while, maybe a couple of 3 years or 4 years. Then somebody invented the electric car, and that's first on the North Avenue. Well,
Does a horse know about an electric car or cable car?
They got them all different kinds of cars.
That's why I be looking at them. I don't care Yale, Harvard, I don't care where you came from.
I just can't think of a word.
You still trying to find reasons why I'm not an animal.
Well,
DNA done told you I'm a human.
Tell you the truth, when I think of it today, I don't know how.
It's in their heads, it's in their hearts, it's in their blood.
I know what it is.
And y'all keep
I
running.
know what it's
Slice,
I know what
slice,
it is.
slice.
But still, it's time to go.
Okay, we gotta stop. I gotta fast forward. See, I listen to it straight through, but
Or on cassette for the companion book. For
okay.
more information, call 800-233-4830.
I don't know if that number's still on, but
Remembering Slavery is made possible by major grants from the National Endowment for the Humanities, dedicated to expanding American understanding of human experience and cultural heritage, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with additional support from the Southern Humanities Media Fund and the Alabama Humanities Foundation.
when we come back, I'm gonna put it back on. I know you always say, oh, I wanna hear it, and she talking through it. But y'all gotta get it. Cause honey, they'll strike me. Facebook be saying you can't be heard in this country because that's under this and blah blah blah. Like how were we supposed to get the voices of our ancestors? The time that they talking about, we was fighting to get in school to get a book to read. Talking about recorder. Well, some people have recorders, I guess. Do I sound so contradictory? I need some water. So, happy President's Day. Uh, Say what you will or may about Jamaica and Haiti, but that's a history that's telling you they is going to stay free, whatever the conditions may be. Call it what you will, may, or might. They're not under the control of the Crowns or the Hatfields and McCoys. The French had their Hatfields and McCoys. But we know Jamaica's had the Scott-Irish, just like we have here in America. And they kicked them out. They destroyed them. They sent them running. And they grabbed up the enslaved people that they could, and they ran to the shores off of Georgia and into the United States. All the southern borders and all the islands. And though we had a civil war, Lincoln did. He just stopped trade, the enslavement, but he didn't stop the Hatfields and McCoys. It just wasn't the government. We should just put in legislation, take our ancestors home. Y'all remember the history? Oh, I guess I should be moving. Well, it's a holiday too. Y'all remember the history about the X? Because we would get killed if they thought we were reading or writing anything. International world, because we would get killed, not because we were stupid and we was dumb and we didn't know. Because having a book could get us killed, our ancestors killed. We didn't know about writing. We didn't have no pencils. We didn't, no, they didn't say here. It was the first time. And when we tried to get anything, our ancestors tried to get anything, they said, Mark, they didn't know how to write it. They said, just put a X, Uncle Billy. Just put an X. And Uncle Billy would put an X. Pay his little hard-earned money, wages, wherever he got it from. He think he's in it. He moved in and everything, everybody happy. And then the next thing you know, the sheriff is there. The bank want their property back. And he said, how? I just got the mortgage. I just got it from there. And I put... And he said, I signed it. They showed him. They said, this don't look like your ex. And then they would take his land. That's the X. And now y'all going back to the same thing. My daughter would have
This program contains
a
sensitive
signature.
language and content.
PRI, Public Radio International.
Remembering Slavery is made possible by major grants from the National Endowment for the Humanities, dedicated to expanding American understanding of human experience and cultural heritage, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with additional support from the Southern Humanities Media Fund and the Alabama Humanities Foundation.
We were slaves. So we belonged to people.
See, the white folks would have church in the morning, then they let the colored people have church at their church in the evening.
You're slavery.
Introduction to cults. Introduction to cults. Let's control them with cults.
For no, they were free.
See, the master couldn't support me. He quit praying and then they asked me, Lord, have mercy on my master. Lord, have mercy on my master. My soul, what a good. He
if I thought that I'd ever be a slave again, I'd take a gun and just end it all right. Because you're nothing but a dog. You're not a thing but a dog.
As I said, dogs was treated better. They didn't have the vocabulary we had now. No. Okay. Alright. Hold on, y'all. Music is definitely copyright strike. Come on. Well. Right away. I'm gonna notice on Facebook. There'll be a blank.
Delia Garlic of Montgomery, Alabama, sat on her porch and insisted that she was 100 years old. She had no good words for slavery days. She said, them days was hell. I was growed up when the war come and I was a mother before it closed. Babies were snatched from their mother's breasts and sold to speculators. Oh, children separated from sisters and brothers and never saw each other again. Of course, they cried. You think they don't cry when they were sold like cattle? I could tell you about it all day, but even then, you couldn't get the awfulness of it. It's bad to belong to folks that own your soul and body, and they can tie you up to a tree with your face to the tree and your arm fast and tight round it. Who take a long curling whip and cut the blood. Oh, trust. Trusting was the only hope for the poor black critters in them days. Us just praying.
Didn't know they came from prisoner of war, fighters, leaders.
Delia Garlic was interviewed by
They
an
didn't know.
employee of the Federal.
It was enough of them here to do a serious ass
In the late
whipping.
1930s, interviewers collected
Generations of grooming.
thousands of former
Generations of grooming.
In this program, dramatic readings of some of these written interviews are performed by actors James Earl Jones, Louis Gossett Jr., Debbie Allen, Melba Moore, Clifton Davis, John Sawyer, and myself, Tania Stewart. Some of the interviews were actually...
I was so happy they didn't put Vanessa Williams in here. I was like, really?
Excerpts from these historical recordings that captured the voices of men and women who remembered slavery. Let former slaves tell you, in their own words, of their lives in bondage and what it was like to be a slave no more.
Enslaved. To be free.
My name is Hampton Hughes.
Hampton Hughes.
I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia. My grandfather belonged to Thomas Jefferson. My grandfather was 115 years old.
You remember that story with Thomas Jefferson, right?
And now I am 101 years old. That's it.
He took a slave as his girlfriend. When did they have a choice? That's Hatfield and McCoy bullshit.
Yeah,
You mean when I was a slave?
yeah, when you were a slave, who did you work for?
Well, I belonged to Burners when I was a slave. My mother belonged to Burners when Burners died during the wartime because he was afraid he'd have to go to war. But now, in them days, you could hire a substitute to take your place. Well,
You could hire someone to go for war for you. You can still do it right now. So important. Yeah, we're gonna get out there and fight. We're gonna fight. Here, take these couple $100, go fight for me.
And then he lived to him being no good. The Yankees just come along and just broke the mill and rolled all the flour out in the river and broke the stove and sold all the meat out in the street, sold all the sugar out. And we boys would pick it up and give it to mill missus and master, young master, So we come to be.
So groomed, so programmed.
Well, I don't know.
They should have peed on
Tell
it.
you the truth. When I
They
say
should have
that,
peed on it.
I don't
Nobody
know
should
how
have
I
peed.
think it.
101-year-old Fountain Hughes had lived through some of the most trying times in American history. So did Mary Barber. She was 81 years old when she was interviewed in Raleigh, North Carolina. Actress, director, choreographer, and producer Miss Debbie Allen interprets the written responses of Mary Barber.
One of the first things I remember was my pappy waking me up in the middle of the night, dressing me in the dark, all the time telling me to keep quiet. When I couldn't holler something, and Pat put his hand over his mouth to keep it quiet, and after he was dressed, he went outside and peeked around for a minute, then he came back and got us. And we even sneaked out the house and along the wood path. Pappy took one of the twins and holding me by the hand and Mammy carrying the other two. I reckon I'll always remember that walk with the bushes slapping my legs and the wind seemed to be just sighing in the trees and the hoot owls and the whippoorwills howling at each other
Yes.
in the big trees. I have to
Gotta talk something.
Sure was scared. I was scared, but in a little while we passed a plum thicket and there was the mules and the wagon. There was the quilt at the bottom of the wagon, and on this they laid us youngins. Pappy and Mary gets on the board across the front and drives off down that road. Oh, I tell you.
Oh, they tell you about, oh, they escaped from in Europe. They escaped from that in Europe. They don't tell you about this escape.
Pappy and Mary talk, Pappy's telling Mary.
My mother was part of the Great Migration. They don't tell you about that escape.
Smoke house and just prawn everything. He says right low that they done took Master Jordan down to Norfolk and that he stole the mules and the wagon and escaped. Ooh, we was scared of them Yankees to start with. But the more we thinks about running away from our masters, the scared we get to them rebs. Anyhow,
Groomed.
Pappy said that we is going to join the Yankees. We were about travels all night and hid in the woods all day for a long time, but after a while we get to Dr. Dillard's place in Charlton County. I reckon we stayed there several days, and we stayed. And the Yankees has took this place, so we stopped over and had a heap of fun dancing and such while we was there. Oh, it was nice. But the Yankees tell Pappy to head for New Bern, and he will be took care of there. So to New Bern we go, we goes to New Bern.
In July 1864.
Everybody. The stories that the Hatfield McCoys put out on us. Like now, they want a war. This is how they got it. Because you can do this with men. Men love a pissing contest. Oh, black people don't want to fight in the war because they're scared. Y'all remember in the soldier story? We didn't want to fight in the war because we had tails. The men had long tails out their back. I know it was something sexual, but that's what they said in the play. And they got them to join. And then they said, oh, y'all so stupid. They said, no, we show you we can fly planes. But we ain't got to show them nothing no more because you have to realize a lot of it is annihilation of us. Send your child to fight in a war for Europe. They still to this day don't know those World War II, World War I veterans that was killed over there was killed by friendly fire. Y'all go ahead. I know everybody got to work. I know what they'll start doing, trying to make it so you can't get no work other than to go and war for them. But there's too many ways to make it. Don't fall for the Hatfield and McCoy okie doke. That's their pissing contest. Let them send their peoples out there. It's more than us. Let them go over there with their feud and feud away. Feud it up. And let's see what we can take care of here. Let's see what we can take care of here. Because when you out on all fronts fighting, I listened to Lincoln on Management before I go. Lincoln on Management. I read Lincoln on Management. I listened to Lincoln on Management. I studied it. And his sole goal was to keep the country united as president. But now the Hatfields and McCoys in, and they have always wanted to succeed. They always wanted to keep everything for themselves. They always want to put us back into free labor. And they hate the fact that they got to pay now for workers. Because just a few years ago, they were still kicking out $4 and change at a fast food joint. Okay. Anyway, you see how I did that? I had a thought. I was like, nah. Like, comment, share. I know nobody sees this video. The ancestors constantly tell me, for 2 years, we're in our third year now, they said, Vicki, it motivates you to exercise to be in the video, and I'm putting it out on the ethers. So, here we are. But I say like, copy, like, comment, share, subscribe. Go check out my videos. You know, I never talk about my podcast called The Pod Moves First. It's on Spotify. It's up on YouTube, The Pod Moves First. And check it out. I did it almost monthly, bi-monthly. But once we're back on the East Coast and things settle down, then we're ramping it up. The Pod Moves First podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, and Spotify. Like, comment, share, tell an uncle, tell an auntie, tell a cousin, tell a friend. Have a wonderful day off, and I'll see you tomorrow.